Find out my voice, okay? See if I still have one this morning. Thank you. We're good. Okay. I'm one of those who believe that this experience we call life is really a school for soul. And because I have that kind of point of view, almost everything becomes a lesson for me, whether I want that lesson or not. I understand that I must need it at times. And sometimes the lesson I get is for other people, the other people who are in my life, even strangers. Okay? And I think that's true for all of us. We are all teachers and learners in this life, in this school of life. And this morning I wanted to talk about why it's important that we respond to life situations. Okay? The fifth principle in unity says that it's not enough to know truth, but we have to apply it. We have to use what we know in our life experiences. And so I'm going to be talking this morning about interacting. Now, there is a difference between reacting to things and responding to things. And I hope to share with you today what that difference is here. But I'd like to begin this message by talking about an experience that a couple had. It was an experience of responding to each other. Excuse me. Harry whined Mary to her husband of 20 years. What should I do? What should I do? I'm not ready for old age. I'm only 40 now, but I look and I feel like I'm over 55. And I'm thinking, nope, my twin sister is going to be 67 December, and she thinks 55 is old. Okay, I do not want to meet this woman here. But anyway, she and her husband have this conversation. And she goes on and she says that, I'm kind of bent over and my hair is turning gray and is thinning. And he says to her, well, honey, okay, there's one thing about you that really works and works perfectly. And she sat down next to Harry and said, oh dear, you know exactly what to say, the right thing to say. So tell me what this quality is, okay? And he said, never mind. And she said, Harry, I want you to tell me, what is this quality that of me that's always working? I want to know. And she got really excited to hear and was preparing herself to hear some loving conversation from her husband. And he says, honey, please don't make me say. Now she's getting a little bit, she said, I insist that you tell me, Harry. And he said, I was thinking about saying that that one thing that works perfectly is your eyesight. Did you get it? Okay, I didn't write it. And I'm not going to share who wrote it, okay, in case they're watching this video. Okay, I don't want to get in trouble with this. Excuse me? Oh, okay. Okay. All right. I said, for you guys out there in video land, okay. She tells Harry, I'm sure that she's looking herself over. She may be at the mirror. It doesn't say that. But she says, Harry, I'm not ready for old age, okay? She said, I'm only 40, but I look like I'm 55 years old. I think I've got wrinkles, she said. My back is bent, okay? And my hair, okay, is turning gray and thinning, okay? And you get it now? Her vision, her eyesight is perfect, okay? Okay. Sorry. Sorry. Anyway, moving on here, I was inspired to have this as today's topic. What would you do? By several things. Last Sunday, the group that meets in the morning class introduced me to a singer named Eddie Watkins Jr. And I'd never heard of him. And so I looked up several of his songs online and listened. This guy's good, okay? Actually loved some of them. And he wrote a song called What Would Love Do Now? And it's a powerful song. Some of you may know the song. It's What Would Love Do Now? He said, he speaks about, in the song, being careful about what you say, what you put out there. Because once you put something out there, it's hard to retrieve it. You can't bring it back. And he says, always check in with yourself about whatever it is and ask yourself, what would love do now? And that's the theme of this song. It's a beautiful song. It may be that we will sing that song here one Sunday here. But he says, just before you say something you can't take away, take a breath and let it out. Try to think about what would love do now? Wondering if you should cross that line for good. Whatever you decide, ask yourself inside, what would love do now? And it goes on, what would love? He said everything is either an act of love, a cry for love. That's why for love. That's why we try for love. In the end, it's all that we really know. Love. Whether right or wrong, doesn't matter just as long. Whatever it's about, ask yourself in and out, what would love do now? And he plays a bass guitar. Okay? Most of his songs he has an accompaniment with this, but he plays a mean bass guitar with this. So that's one of the things that inspired this talk. What would you do? The other is an old TV show that began playing in 2008. I don't know if you've ever seen it or not. It used to play on prime time TV, and it was called What Would You Do? And the show was actually it wasn't exactly a reality show. They put on scenes. They had actors who played certain experiences out in the public, perhaps in a restaurant, that kind of thing. A couple could have an argument about something, and the cameras are really, they're hidden cameras, and they're really focused not only on the actors portraying a situation, but also on those who are nearby, the bystanders or those who are sitting nearby, to watch and see how they react, whether they will react or respond to what they're hearing, which they think is a real situation. These are available on YouTube. I don't know whether they're playing anywhere else right now. At one time, they were being played on OWN, Oprah Winfrey Network. But there are so many of them, so many different scenarios. The two that I wanted to share with you this morning, in one of them, a mother leaves her child in a car while she runs into a shop to get coffee. And in the second one, a customer is disturbed by the fact that a Down syndrome man is helping to bag up his groceries. Okay? And in all of these, the question rings out, what would you do? Would you respond at all in these situations? Or, as some people have done, they walk away from it and don't get involved at all. And so this is always the question, because there's something about life that calls to us. In fact, in Greg Lavoie's book, called Finding and Living an Authentic Life, he speaks about these calls that we have, calls to soul. It's life calling to us to interact in some way. We spoke about transforming lives and wanting to make a difference, okay? And in most of these, people responded because they did want to make a difference. The question, what would you do? Now, you're being asked to imagine that you were there. Now, these people don't know that these situations are being staged. They think that they're real, okay? And they felt strongly enough about the situation to intercede, to help to make things better for someone. Okay. And there were different ways of responding or reacting, okay? A lot of people went with emotion and they just reacted. There were a few who kind of stood back and talked quietly, and instead of reacting, they responded. So In the calls that we receive from life, we're challenged. We're challenged as to whether we will intercede or we will just let things go. And we make that decision. It's up for us. Not everything that goes on around us is calling us to interact with it. This is where we stay open to guidance and what we can do and how we can make a situation better if we can. Sometimes it's our work, sometimes it's not our work to intercede. But instead, when I think about it, I'm not the type of person who goes out and gets on the picket line, with a sign and marches in the street for various causes, okay? But I choose to work from the inside out, knowing that prayer is powerful, and sending light and love to situations is also a healing way to work on issues. Reaction is quick. Response takes time. Reaction is often emotion-filled, but response removes the emotion. Reaction is often aggressive, while response allows for assertiveness without the aggression. Reaction often snowballs into unnecessary and prolonged periods of discomfort and disagreement. Response resolves things more quickly. What is your normal reflex? Reaction or response? Which of these reflexes do you think more often leads to what would love do now? They both start the same way, reaction and response. For example, a coworker or subordinate or superior says something that triggers an emotion. And it could be a meeting, it could be email or texting, it could be over a casual lunch. And what happens in the next few seconds determines the difference between reaction and response. Someone who's reacting immediately hits his reply button and he fires off a scathing tirade. And he actually hits the send button even before he takes his next breath. Now, a casual lunch conversation suddenly turns into a very negative situation. And a normally calm and brilliant employee resorts to name calling in the daily meeting. Reaction without thinking can often damage relationships and make things worse. On the other hand, a person who is responding hits his reply. He types up his scathing reaction, okay, but he never sends it. He takes a walk and thinks about a more appropriate way to respond to the situation when emotions have died down. And he handles this in a very, very different way. And the result takes a very different form. We are free to decide which one we would rather be doing, reacting to a situation that calls us or responding to a situation that calls us. Because we're not often aware when we're beginning to break out in a full-fledged reaction, there are numerous spiritual tools that can help us become more mindful of what's happening in here. Prayer, meditation, of course, and memorizing affirmations so that at a moment's notice we can pop up something. You get your bill in the mail and you see they've added on extra charges for something, and immediately you pop up an affirmation such as, God is my source, okay? And good is coming into my experience. I have all that I need to take care of all that comes before me. I am prosperous in mind and in manifestation. Imagine getting to the place where an experience calls you to react or respond, and you can automatically pop up with an affirmation that brings calm and peace and an awareness of something beyond that outer situation. It's powerful. But there's another tool that I want to share with you. It's called the rubber band technique. And you get a rubber band and you put it on your wrist. And I started to bring some rubber bands for you to try this out, but you probably have some of those that you can try at home. You put the rubber band on your wrist, and when you become aware that the temperature within you is rising, okay, you just gently snap that rubber band. Now, you don't have to kill yourself. Okay. Just a simple reminder can snap you like that out of this emotional role so that you have time to pause and to breathe. To pause and to breathe. It occurs to me that people who are enthralled in a negative reaction are not breathing. They're often holding their breath, except for their speech. They're often tensing up, and they're not relaxed. Okay? So pausing to breathe using the rubber band technique is a good one. I've tried that myself, okay? But I'm gentle with myself because all I need is that little trigger to break this habitual pattern of responding automatically in a reaction.